really, really hard, and they execute the system, and that's what it's all about.
Yes, sir. Trust.
He's pretty big trust. Big trust, baby.
Hey, yes, sir.
Right on cue. Hey, right on cue. Hey, let me.
We're back on the Jumbo Set podcast. It is Wednesday, December 18th. My name is Jake Louque. We are presented by Jimmy's Famous Seafood. I'm joined by Big Apple Spen. How are we doing here on this Tuesday night as we record this, my friend?
I am finally maybe not exhausted anymore. I did go up to the game, obviously, which is why I didn't join in the live reaction. But I'm
not for lack of trying.
I tried to pop in on my phone and didn't go well, so I just got out of there, just left.
I knew that was coming too. I told Brian there's going to be some sort of spinning wheel, like maybe he'll get through it or it'll be choppy, and it was, I do give you credit. You did try, but yeah, it was I knew there was going to be a pop in.
Did my best there. So yeah, it was an interesting weekend. The MetLife experience is just.
You were I mean, not to air you out, but you were excoriating that facility in the group chat.
Yeah, it's just terrible. No, you certainly kind of said it on here before. It's pathetic. I mean, it's New Jersey. It's not New York. It's right outside the city, but it is so poorly constructed as a civics space, as a place where a large quantity of people go and park, considering the amount of space and land that they have. There's nothing around it. There's a mall and there's like a couple parking garages. It makes no sense. The lot numbers, it's very similar to like a FedEx Field where it's a stadium that is completely 360 degrees surrounded by lots.
Just middle of nowhere. Like, yeah, I drove by it in August and I had seen it before, but that was like probably the first time I really kind of took the minute to like look over. I was like, damn, there's just really like nothing there. And it's like, it evokes like the Sopranos opening is what I was saying to Brian, where he's just driving, he's leaving New York and going into New Jersey. And kind of the irony of that opening is there's just nothing there. It's because the Meadowlands is literally just a swamp with industrial parks and just a bunch of wasted space. I shouldn't say wasted space, but just, space with nothing in it really. Kind of a depressing scene. And especially it doesn't feel befitting of a team from New York City. New York City.
And I'll give Giants fans, a lot of credit. It was way more full than I anticipated. There was a lot of Giants fans there, a lot of sad Giants fans, but still a lot of Giants fans. Definitely a fair showing of Ravens fans. I think a lot of folks typically travel up to those New York games. Not terribly far. It's a cool place. It's nice to go there this time of year. Had a great time going out in Hoboken on Saturday. Went to a place called Augustino's, a classic Italian cash-only place. It's tough to get a reservation.
Did you go into the back? Did you?
Walked in through the kitchen.
Much better than waiting in line. Yeah.
Yeah. Then went to a comedy show that was at a barber shop, and I sat front center in front of the comedians. So of the comedians, it was like 6 of them. So I got made fun of a bunch, which was fun. And yeah, it was fun. I love going up there, but then like the culmination of my weekend is to go to this gray shit box. The word MetLife isn't even like pressure washed. It's like sooty. It's like the stadium's not that old. There's not that much on the perimeter of it. Like, couldn't you at least Mr. Mara and Mr. Johnson, couldn't one of the two of you get somebody to fucking pressure wash the MetLife logo? Could the company MetLife pay to do that? Like, someone please pressure wash.
I think Woody's got, a bigger fish to fry with this new administration coming in. And then I think Mr. Mara is probably just still catatonic, just bedridden over the fact that Saquon Barkley is just lighting it up with the Eagles still. That is getting so much run now. Like, I'm surprised at how much staying power that last year's Hard Knocks clip got and is still getting. I get it, but at the same time, it's like, man, Giants fans are really just getting the stake driven through their heart this season. And you mentioned that they did turn out well. Man, there were a lot of sad Giant fan shots by the I think it was CBS this weekend. A lot of the bags over the head. I was really struggling to reconcile like if you're going to go to a game and just wear a bag over your head, like I don't know. It just feels like
There's
that's
a plane that flies around the stadium every Giants home game. Like it says, Mr. Mara, please fire everyone. We're done waiting. And apparently before it's just said like, Mr. Mara, your time is done. Please sell the team. And then my buddy who I went with is a Giants fan. And I stayed at his place and he was like, I wonder who flies that plane. And I was like, it's probably just a Giants fan. He was like, do you think someone's paying for that? I was like, no, it's probably a Giants fan that owns a small plane.
You think it's one of these drones that's just absolutely just, just bucking their heads up here in the
In the spirit of people confusing planes with drones, yes.
Is that what's going on? I'm so out of the loop on that.
Yeah, they think everyone thinks like, oh, they'll see an airplane in the sky and they're like taking videos and it's just a plane flying through the sky with all the airports around there. So yeah, it was a strange experience. The game starts off, a little weird. The kick return was awesome. The Ravens have a definitive play with Lamar Jackson as I'm like getting to my seat and then fumble as before I can even get into my seat. And I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. Not going to panic. And man, the stadium, like, I don't know, just the stadium itself, to maybe talk too much about it, but it's like New York cheesesteaks. That's the vendor everywhere. That's the food vendor, New York cheesesteaks. There's no like cool pizza thing anywhere or cool Italian kind of culture, food, nothing. It's just Bud Light vendor, Coors vendor, New York cheesesteak, like hamburger, nachos, French fries, soda. There's nothing of any sort of culture or essence of New York or New Jersey or anything at all. And then the stadium itself, like people rip on SoFi. I've never been there. But it's just like, okay, we switch over the Ring of Honor and the retired numbers to the Giants, and we hang those flags, and the announcer's weird. It's just a very devoid of any sort of spirit place and experience. And it's sad because it's two really, storied franchises, and the whole stadium is just gray. The seats are gray, the exterior's gray. It was a cloudy day, so you're just like the field's Giants blue and the MetLife, the famous MetLife turf, like everything is just hung with like even when you look at the sideline and like what lines the actual wall where the seats start to go up, they have the what is the name of the banners everybody puts out for the 4th of July? What are those things called? The little red, white, and blue little ribbon things.
Oh,
you know what I'm talking about? Like
something.
Like in Ocean City, you drive through, they're everywhere. You know what I'm talking about. But
yeah, just the little like flag things. I know.
It's just those little flags, those little those little circular flag things. They're just on a part of like the wallpaper that goes on it. Like they don't even have real ones. It's just like part of the print. Everything's just, I don't know. It's like a sim stadium. It's very weird. I don't know. I just don't see either of those teams like digging themselves out of their ownership. I just feel bad for their fans. Really.
Yeah, I would say you've probably just called them in a bad time. I mean, like going back.
I went to the game on 9/11 in 2022, and there's like a flyover and American flags and everything. And it still was. I had the same sentiment. Like, the fans were excited for the season opener. The Jets, were a team of maybe possibility. Who knows? They got Joe Flacco and a good defense, and maybe they can go 8-8 or 9-8 or whatever the hell. I guess I don't know if that's when 17 started, but I still left that game week 1 on 9/11 being like, wow, this place is a shit box. I'd rather go to a game at FedEx. Seriously, I think FedEx is nicer and a better experience. Seriously, I've been to several games at FedEx.
Yeah, I think that's just a function of like having to share the two, like you said, and then it's like obviously, with that, even that brings in even more of like the corporatized kind of sterilized NFL image, and then the fact that it's just like, to your point, it does just feel divorced from New York City. I know you can see the skyline and everything, but like, man, like logistically, if they can make it work and like build a stadium in Queens or something, or Flushing where they have like Arthur Ashe and like Citi Field and all that, like that would be sick. I mean, obviously it's not going to happen anytime soon, but that would give it a lot more character. I think this is just kind of like, to your point, I haven't been there, but having driven by it, it's just like, man, you know exactly what it is. And you having described it, I know the exact experience without having to step foot in there on game day.
Yeah, so I feel pretty bad for their fans. Ultimately, I certainly feel for them, and I don't know. It's just a sad time and a sad place. And again, I just feel bad for their fans and hope that, I don't know. Both owners suck. I just feel bad. Like I have so many friends that I went to like school with and stuff that are such football fans. They want to have like a cool, fun football team, and they just haven't. And
It's
both
just,
of them.
it feels like a waste when a team in the Northeast corridor for the NFL is bad like that. That would be like if Georgia were like in a really bad stretch in the SEC. Like it just like it doesn't feel right, you know. Like that's NFL country, and like those are two franchises, like you said, with storied histories.
Going out after the game and stuff around the city, it's like cool. Like there are so many fans still wearing their Giant stuff, but then there's Vikings fans, there's Browns fans, there's Chargers fan, like Falcons, like whatever. You go to a bar somewhere and there's every single, like it's a place that is so vibrant for football. It's kind of like, I would say that's the epicenter of football throughout time. New York City, like the epicenter of sport really in our country. Basketball, baseball, all the history of baseball there, everything. So the owners, I think, are the crux of it, and whatever the hell is going on with that stadium. And I just feel bad for them. I like to talk smack. Like I've liked to talk smack to my friends for years, but it's just now I just feel bad. I don't see it changing. And my thoughts, and I feel like your thoughts we've always been in lockstep. Like it starts with ownership, and both have owners that are uninspiring. They've started to meddle too much. Then they've gotten to that weird point where they stop meddling, and then they definitely want to again, and they're desperate. There's a running joke because I believe last year there was a Giants promotion. Mr. Mara made this special promotion that if you came to the game, you would get a free medium Pepsi. And all the fans were like, fuck you. Like a Pepsi with my ticket. Thank you, Mr. Mara, your almighty highness. That's like any classic trope of, what is it? Arrested Development, when whatever the grandmother, she's like, what could a banana cost?
Yeah.
What could a banana cost? $100? Like, or whatever she says. I can't remember, but
yeah, like $12, just like an arbitrary, like it's even funnier the way she said, like, it's God, what a fucking lie.
He thinks all these like Neanderthal mouth breathers with backwards hats want a free soda, and that'll be like okay, thank you, Mr. Mara, free Pepsi.
Awesome. To be fair, if like a turtle archetype, I could see that playing to somebody like that, but it is, it is 2024. It's probably time to like maybe get with the times a little bit there, Mr. Mara.
Definitely. And cool game. I guess I'll just jump into some clips a little bit here. And get into it. Wanted to start this kickoff just because this is what we talked about so much in like John Harbaugh, special teams. People make fun of him. And I get to the Ravens option game and confidence a little bit, but opening the game this way, coming out of the bye week, I think shows where they were spending a little bit of time, right? So what we can see, and I think I start to circle it, maybe I'll let this run through, but we see so many, I think there's 7 Ravens blockers on the left side of our vantage, the right side for the returner. They bring an 8th over. Tez Walker gets down on the kicker. He was the far man. He was the L for the kickoff team. He would be the R11 or whatever, the R10. So once we get here, I think I start to circle it soon, but that big hole, the Ravens did a great job in this game, whether in the pass game or the run game and on special teams. Des King even has one, creating lanes and attacking the shit out of them. So we see one of the Giants defenders kind of loops across. It looks like they wanted to kick the ball a little bit more towards the kicking team's perspective, right? So we end up seeing 7 blockers on that side of the field quickly, plus the lead blocker, plus Justice Hill. The Giants take one out of the equation, looping around, I think, number 43, if I'm not mistaken. So there's just a numbers disadvantage, hats on hats all around. Great job by the up man. And then Tez Walker riding it downhill. It was just an awesome kick return to watch, setting this thing up. Justice Hill just punches it. You can see it. Look at that hole. As I have my crazy Channing Tatum mat there for a second, but look at this hole to hit right there. Is a thing of beauty. And again, coming out of the bye week, I think that just shows, hey, we're going to start getting aggressive on special teams. The Ravens, we've heard them talk about it. They kind of punted it, to make a pun about punts. They were like, hey, we're just going to kick the ball off out of bounds and not really return the ball, right? So I thought that was an electric way to open the game. Justice Hill, who ends up having not only that return, but 5 catches, 60 yards, a long touchdown, has had multiple just massive touchdowns in the last month or so. The one against the Chargers. He has a big first down run in this game. He's just, he is like one of the sons of Baltimore this season. Like it gives me a little bit of goosebumps when I talk about him, how awesome he is in pass pro. Starts out the season against Chris Jones and just does everything the right way. Plays as, he's not the biggest guy on earth, but plays with no fear at all. And it's really fun to watch.
Yeah, no, he's been a guy, I think, the last couple of years. When you talk about this running back room and just the approach with it, where it's just, you know what, we're going to draft J.K. Dobbins. Oh, well, that's not working out great. Okay, well, we'll have to bring in Latavius Murray and Devonta Freeman, and we're just having this kind of hodgepodge of like a hobbled Gus Edwards and this and that. He's just kind of always been in the mix. I mean, there were times maybe a season or two ago, I remember where kind of everyone was hurt, and I remember thinking like, man, Justice Hill, like it's not a huge bar, but this guy's the Ravens' best running back through like a 6-week stretch or something. This is really the first season, I think, where he's getting kind of the chance to show that. And it's obviously not through a role of like him being the featured back or anything, which is obviously good for him. He's just in kind of a perfect role right now. And I think part of that goes into Monken being able to execute screens a lot better than I think Roman could. And I think even better than
nice
he
screen
could
in this game. He had like a 13-yard gain on a well-executed one.
Yeah, exactly. And I think even better than, Monken was last season. I think it's on a new level this year. That's totally unlocked that aspect of it. Pass pro just been an absolute hammer in pass protection. That's been awesome to watch. Safety net. And I think this was his first like significant action as far as kick returns. I'm sure he's been back there at points throughout the season, but not sure how many times he's gotten the ball in his hands. And yeah, man, this one perfectly blocked up. He's got that, really kind of, it's funny to say deceptive speed because he's a running back, but you don't really think of him as the super fast guy, but when he finds a hole and he's able to explode through it, he's got a good top line. And that was a really good tone setter for the game. Obviously kind of washed out due to the fumble after that, but man, we talk about, and we'll get into it with the rest of this game, but we talk about this game being sort of, a checkbox. You're coming out of the bye. Are you going to set the tone? Are you going to show that you're ready for this 3-game stretch over 10 or 11 days that is going to define where you wind up in the playoffs and if you're able to win your division? I think this was a good tone setter as far as saying that, yes, we are ready.
And special teams has to be a part of that. Like if you want to win a Super Bowl, you can't have a mediocre unit. You really can't. You can't have a shitty run defense. You can't have a shitty kicking unit, return game. Like things need to be, all the I's need to be dotted, all the T's need to be crossed. If you're a championship team, you have to be able to make plays in, people say 3 phases. No, it's really like 9 phases. Like both sides of the ball, both sets of special teams, kick off, kick return, punt return. Your kicking unit, your kick block unit, everything needs to be buttoned up. So I love that. Looking through Justice Hill's stats here, kick returns, I thought this was pretty cool. He had a 46-yard return in 2019. He did not return a kick again until 2022. He had a 56-yard return. These are all kick returns. 78-yard return last year, and then a 59. So he's had at least a 45-yard return in 4 seasons, despite taking a break from 2019 to 2022 as a returner. So he averaged 39.7 yards per return. He only had 3 last year, but one of those being 78, averages 36.6 this year. And yeah, like you said, he's not a 22 mile an hour guy. He might barely be a 21 mile per hour guy after his Achilles injury, but his second and third gear are bam, bam. Like he transitions upfield, he gets bam, bam into quick little freaking street racing GTI. It's like, like hopping through those gears. Really fun to watch.
Yeah, exactly. And you mentioned the impact in the pass game, 5 catches on 5 targets. So no drops, no wasted space there, 61 yards, long of 27 and the touchdown there. Touchdown catch wasn't easy either. He really had to, Lamar kind of went shortstop on him and he scooped that thing up at second base and, nobody around him obviously, but nice job to turn that one into a touchdown.
Definitely. Then wanted to get in some other plays. This is the fumble. I like this play. Now, Zay Flowers was hilariously the culprit, and you'll see why I said hilariously in a moment. But Isaiah Likely getting out in front over here creates a 3-on-3. So we're going to see a GT. We're going to see Falele and Rosengarten, the right guard and right tackle, pull. And then the read man is going to be Brian Burns. I might stupidly draw read. And then I was like, why did I do that here? It's hard to read. John Madden to the T. So the read man's Brian Burns, end man on line of scrimmage there, the EMOLOS. So it's 3-on-3 with Jackson and creates another alley. We talked about that alley, that lane for Lamar Jackson. And he's just going to read Brian Burns. Simple stuff, option game. But look at this alley that he gets when Brian Burns commits. Likely seals outside. And then Zay Flowers here does ruin this entire play. You'll see him be like, oh my God, that was on me. Oh my God, that's on me right after the fumble because his man forced the fumble. And if Zay Flowers got up and cut the space and got in his face, Lamar might have housed this. So I love the play. I love how good the fake was. It feels like
Henry really sells that going to the A gap. You're right.
Exactly. The ball fake. Lamar is so good at the option in part because he can hang out in the tummy for so long and still cleanly pull and go. Like Jaden Daniels can run a read option. He's fast, but Lamar can like fly out of the mesh point faster than anyone. It's like a superpower of his. So watching Zay Flowers here just not get up on his man was bad. You can see him like apologizing, like that's on me, that's on me. Doesn't try to help in the pile either. So definitely a really, really horrible play from Zay Flowers. I would expect to see a huge blocking effort from him in Pittsburgh. Someone that tries to make up with mistakes with fire. But yeah, this is smooth. I think that Falele's pulled smooth. Falele had a really nice game. I was actually really impressed with him for the first time this season. Not like there's a Dexter Lawrence in there, but it is NFL players still. He finished a lot. I might have put one of those clips in there. Adoree Jackson, I mean, rips that damn ball out. I think Lamar just wasn't expecting it. I put the Daniel Falele play in. He's going to pull across Brian Burns, and he's just going to make him eat shit. He's just going to put him in the fucking earth. He did that a couple times in this game. So I wanted to get back into the option game. I'll just keep ripping here a little bit. Going to be Isaiah Likely getting out ahead. This is the staple of their run game this year, is Isaiah Likely lead blocking in split motion or in motion for Lamar, getting out in space. And again, an alley, a lane, a confident, decisive lane. The Steelers do a good job attacking these. We'll get into that on the Thursday preview a little more, but find a lane and hit it. Just hit the damn thing. Look at this. That's beautiful. That is the third time early in this game that they have created a huge window for a runner full speed to attack. Here's another great way of creating a lane down in the red zone. We're going to see this cool motion. It's a short out return motion from Zay Flowers there with the pivot fake from Lamar Jackson, handoff to Derrick Henry. And it's another GT counter. And you see the counter step from Henry. You see the two pullers. Another confident ass lane to run through. The Ravens offensive line, the intention behind their play calling, the way that they're working up to the second level, sealing things, all creating tons of space to hit hard. That's a huge run in the red zone. That almost is a touchdown there. So I really love it to go back and again, look at that motion there. I thought the intention in the pass game and run game was really clean. And I think that's a little bit of a credit to the bye week and Todd Monken.
Yeah, I think intention is definitely a good word to use there, because there have been times this season where it feels like when they do get those orbits in the mix, or they get somebody running in front of Lamar, maybe the snap is not totally timed up. I think we've seen a fumble or two, maybe not always recovered by the other team, but it's just one of those things where executionally you'd like to see it cleaned up a little bit. I think this game was the perfect example, and this play really the perfect example where a lot of things can go wrong. Lamar fields it cleanly. Zay running behind him on your screen there, turning back around, getting it into Henry's belly, and just, it's all power from there. What are we thinking, by the way, of the haircut on Henry? I love it.
I love it too. He's been hanging out with Lamar, South Florida boy, and has the braids now to match. So at that point, like the option game's going, they're starting to get some creativity. Likely, again, hit that again, another alley. This is on 3rd and short, so that's all they wanted. Again, the intention is there, and now they're in a similar look. It is Justice Hill. So this is the same drive. We see that look. Now we see, again, Isaiah Likely up here at the top of the screen. He's at number 3. He's basically in line. And this ends up being, I believe, this is the touchdown. So he's going to come in motion across. So you get the bump out, which is going to create a lane for Rashad Bateman. Look at the space created for Rashad Bateman with the numbers there, especially against a single high look. So Bateman can just fly through and see how the safety reacts there a little bit. And Bateman on this touchdown did such a nice job getting flat. Watch how flat he gets once he gets all the way up to that safety. If he drifted, the safety could have undercut it. I don't think Lamar would have put it there. I think it would have been an incompletion, or maybe he doesn't throw it. But he threw it so early, he knew exactly where he was going. This was an awesome throw, awesome route, awesome just concept, spacing. Everything worked so cleanly. So much good in this game, in the pass game, in the run game. And I kind of wanted to set up how good the run game was early and the creativity there that worked into the pass game a little bit. So that was the last clip I had. Thought it was a ton of fun. They did some more fun stuff. Tez Walker throw was great. That play was great. There's a lot of good to come out of this game. And it's just exactly what you wanted, to go test some things out, self-scout throughout the bye week, and then go put it into application. Everything just clicked, right? And I would say Derrick Henry really didn't have a good game either. I don't think he himself ran well. I don't think he was decisive. He slipped in a really big hole once. The MetLife monster got him a little bit, but still, he slipped. So you don't need him to be tractor Cito to win because you have Lamar Jackson. So I think we might not see him maybe have that 190-yard, 3-touchdown game in December because it's not his show. It's Lamar's show. And the option game is what is the difficult part. And Lamar's ability to be precise and on time or to create. So I'm not saying I think Henry's not going to make an impact or that he's not good. He's fantastic and he makes a huge impact. But I don't know. We kind of have this build like, oh, tractor Cito, 30 carries. Like, here it comes. Like, the Giants didn't even need to get into that at all. It was easy. How many runs did I just show where it's just space? There's just a fucking lane to go through. And the Giants suck. They're pitiful. They're like tanking. They don't have Dexter Lawrence. They've lost some guys, but they showed some fight in the first half. Like, this game was close. It was 14. The Giants go down and score. It's 14-7 at one point. So, it's an NFL team. You can take that with a grain of salt when they suck, but I don't know. I was just impressed. And even that opening fumble, they didn't let it shake them. The Giants score. They don't let it shake them. The penalties. I know you were tweeting about that. I saw that. Like, I think yesterday, you're like this kaleidoscope of bullshit or something, which was great.
It's just like, yeah, I got into it on the recap. It's just like holding it, to your point, holding. You've talked about holding and roughing the passer. These are judgment calls that it's just spin the roulette. Basically, that's what it gets into, and that's going to set the tone of the game for you, no matter how good you are or how bad the other team is. That has a chance to keep every game close, and I think the NFL likes that, but it is kind of infuriating when you are the better team. But yeah, I mean, like, as far as the game itself, I love the comments after the game with Lamar, who doesn't get into schematic stuff a ton of the time, talking about the single high looks and how they were looking specifically to take advantage of that. You saw that on that Bateman touchdown. Saw it again with the, you mentioned Tez Walker, first catch, first touchdown. They were practicing that play with him in mind, which I liked a lot, to get him kind of involved a little bit. That might be the last significant action he gets for the season, but, maybe that could be signs of things to come for him next year, which would be great. And then Henry, I mean, you mentioned like tractor Cito, maybe that's, not necessarily going to need to be a good thing. And that could be fine because, man, we talk about this run game at this time last season with the Ravens. Nobody was worried about that set of running backs that they had. And obviously I think that bit them. And then when you talk about Henry and some of his legend that he's built, nothing against Ryan Tannehill, but it's a much different animal when you're talking about the quarterback that he's playing with now versus Ryan Tannehill. You don't really need him to be tractor Cito, to your point. So as much as I would love to see them, let's say they get into this wild card round or something and they get a matchup where it's going to be favorable to lean on Henry and kind of win a game more comfortably, that would be great. But in the meantime, it's nice to know that they're kind of a dynamic duo, not one is kind of needed more than the other.
Yeah, and I like that you mentioned the comments from Lamar about single high, because who plays the most single high in the NFL? The Pittsburgh Steelers. So getting a look against that team who is going to run the same thing. They're not going to switch it up. It's going to be more of that. Now they're more disciplined in their zones. They do a better job making, tightening those zones and making it be a smaller window of throwing. They don't blow assignments as much. And that Rashad Bateman first touchdown probably doesn't happen against the Pittsburgh Steelers very often. But yeah, you can tell that they got the Giants into the looks they wanted. Those looks are going to flow into next week. You can build off of that. Creativity off of that. Working blind spots was really nice. Bateman on that first touchdown, I mean, put that DB in a blender in his blind spot, turned right off of his hip, fired up at the right time. Rashad Bateman has 4 deep touchdowns this year, according to NFL Pro, and he is second in the NFL to only Terry McLaurin, who's obviously having a monster year in deep touchdowns. So a lot of people said, and a lot of, not just people, analysts, I think like maybe Mina Kimes talked about this. I think, the hell is his name? Someone else on NFL Network. It's a younger analyst, Greg or something, Greg Rosenthal. I think it was him saying like, hey, maybe Bateman shouldn't be this deep ball guy. Maybe he should be the slot guy, the intermediate guy. I say, yeah, that makes sense too. But the reason he was a first round pick is because he could do both. He can play inside and play outside. And seeing him healthy, seeing him be a factor, seeing him be confident, the way he was confident after the catch, even stiff arms Isaiah Simmons into the end zone and just fucking propels off of him into the end zone, was so cool. This team had a lot of fun. They didn't let anything get in their way. And the Ravens are really good after bye weeks. And I was feeling like maybe I'm an idiot. Like I said, I think last time about the bye week, like, oh, they would have gotten Deontay Johnson involved after the bye week. Well, guess what? They get Tez Walker involved after the bye week. Oh,
Deontay Johnson excused from team activities once again this week, so it seems like that's trending in the wrong direction for him.
I would just assume they just don't want him to go somewhere else, and like especially the Steelers. Like the Steelers would probably try and snatch him right the fuck up.
Especially
Whatever.
this week. I mean,
Yeah, exactly. What have they been running? What are they doing? I'm sure he would love to go if he's that pissed off. He seems very volatile. So I would assume he's never going to play a snap again. Devondre Campbell, and I do genuinely love that the Devondre Campbell situation happened because we got to see how the 49ers dealt with it versus how the Ravens dealt with it. And I don't think it actually matters, but I just think it's funny that everyone was so critical of the Ravens for not like getting him in the game. And then to hear Nick Bosa's comments where he was basically like, he didn't say this, but he's like, fuck that person.
all those guys did. I mean, Kittle, I think Lenore maybe had some comments. Like all those guys were like, fuck this guy, basically. Like
Nick Bosa said something to the tune of, I heard him kind of chirping like pregame, and I was going to say something, but I decided not to make it a big deal because I didn't want it to, blow over. And they were like, in hindsight, do you wish you did? And he was like, no, I'm glad I didn't say anything because clearly it wouldn't have helped. So the contrast of the way the 49ers handled it, they suspended him for 3 games. They're not going to reward him by cutting him versus the Ravens who are like, yep, he's suspended. We're not going to talk about it again. They didn't shit on him because you don't need to. I mean, you can, but you don't need to. What do you gain? Just fuck that guy. Like, cool. I don't care. So I think it was a little bit of a funny situation that the Ravens just kind of were like, next thing. People are still talking about Devondre Campbell today. No one talked about DeAndre Johnson. They kept it out of the national news. People are pissed about Hard Knocks. Like they're not showing much on Hard Knocks. I get it as a fan. Like, you want entertainment.
if you're watching Hard Knocks and expecting to see that and getting mad when you don't, you're setting yourself up for that. Hard Knocks is access. It's not even journalism. It's just an access documentary program that is, meant to be a commercial for the NFL during the season at this point. And that's okay. If you enjoy that.
I like it. I like watching it. I think it's cool to watch the Steelers and see inside the facilities and all that stuff. The access is still cool, regardless of if it's authentic or portrayed in, whatever tone.
They're not trying to be Ken Burns. They're just trying to get you behind the doors a little bit and show you what's, some other stuff that's going on. It's,
Yeah, some cool shot. I mean, they have the coolest cameras on earth. HBO has always had the most expensive Max now, pardon me. But in my opinion, they've always had the most expensive and highly advanced actual cameras on the planet. So watching Jamar Chase come out of the tunnel the last week, and it's about to come on now, I guess, right? Whereas we're recording at 9. But watching them come out of the tunnel and the coloring and the everything that they did, the colorization, the cameras, the quality of it during games was so cool. There's so many cool shots. So I still like watching it. But the Ravens just kept everything quiet. Like they made it to the bye week. I'll knock on the wood again. They're healthy as hell. They don't have injury. Like, look at the Lions, man. The Lions aren't going to win the Super Bowl. They simply aren't. They are not going to make it. They're not. The injuries aren't done yet either. Everyone's going to lose someone in the playoffs. So I feel terrible for the Lions. I genuinely do. I wouldn't be surprised to see their coordinators Ben Johnson probably gone, but Glenn on the other side, kind of feels like unfinished business again. I do genuinely feel for them. They lost Aleem McNeil and Aiden Hutchinson and Alex Anzalone and their entire defense. So
Montgomery, yeah.
David Montgomery's gone now. So I feel for them, but the Ravens are healthy. They got their bye week late. They get to get reinvigorated. They got to self-scout. And what they've done, man, Kyle Hamilton, Sports Info Solutions and PFF chart a little differently because Sports Info Solutions will do what's called team defense. They'll be like, oh, this was thrown against zone. PFF will be like, oh, closest person gets the target. SIS will say it was the middle of a zone. So we're not saying that was like someone's man necessarily. They think that they charted Kyle Hamilton with 1 reception allowed since he started playing more deep safety against the Steelers in week 10. 1 reception. And Marlon Humphrey's comments today basically saying, you saw what it was, Jake.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he said something to the effect of moving him back to actual safety stabilized everything for us. And I think that was something that, to your credit, you were talking about. Just get him back there, let him just play regular safety, simplify the calls a little bit. And obviously they're not going up against the greatest show on turf this past week, but another nice step forward for this defense. And I think those comments are very telling.
Yeah, I mean, the scoreboard is what you want at the end of the game. How many points did you allow? And the Ravens haven't allowed more than 24 points to the Eagles, who are a little bit of a juggernaut. The Steelers scored 18. The Chargers scored 23, part of that being super late.
in a little bit of a blowout. The Eagles scored 24, the Giants 14. So before that, you had allowed 35, 10, 29, 31, 23, 38. Like, quieted things down. And what we saw on the defensive side of the ball against the Giants, that's what another question I had. Okay, we simplify. It kind of looks like that Dean Pease defense. All right, let's keep everything in front of us. Let's tackle. Let's, occasionally blitz, be deliberate. They were throwing the kitchen sink at Tommy DeVito. They were throwing crazy pressures, sims, creepers. Marlon Humphrey came like a fucking freight train 2 times, almost caused an interception. He blitzed front side. At the last possible second, he flew right into a screen to Malik Neighbors. And DeVito, if Nate Wiggins saw that DeVito was throwing it, he probably would have had a pick 6. He just jumped Neighbors, which is a good thing instead. And then another one that made DeVito just sprint away and throw the ball out of bounds, I think on a 3rd down. So they were dropping Van Noy. They were dropping everybody. They were bringing nickel pressure. They were doing a ton of stuff. So it's interesting because Marlon is playing so much slot again because Hamilton is playing safety, and Malik Harrison playing a ton in this one. They're having him play some outside linebacker. He's not really a pass rusher, but he's physical and kind of locks in. Ajabo running around. And maybe some of that is playing the Giants, but this defense had a lot of intention. And what we thought was, all right, let's simplify things defensively into the bye and then come out. Can you get back to those creepers now that you feel good about not blowing coverage on the back end? You don't need that extra coverage defender just to give yourself another 15% chance that you won't blow a coverage. So I love what I saw. I think that they're going to give Russell Wilson a hell of a time. Their defense is really healthy. Their offense is really healthy. They're in a good spot, man. I feel really good about this team, and we'll get more into this week, but I don't know if it seems like Marlon Humphrey's words about the Steelers are we have lost 8 of 9. That's unacceptable. You think about Roquan Smith, Marlon Humphrey, Kyle Hamilton, Lamar Jackson, gotta be the week you get it done. And I don't really even give a shit about winning the division. I don't even think the Ravens will still win the division, even if they beat the Steelers. They have to win out, and the Steelers have to lose another game in addition to the Ravens. Could happen. Mahomes full participant. Hopefully the Chiefs feel enough pressure to have to play him, but you need to get this monkey off your back now. There's a possibility you play them again too. That wouldn't be if the Ravens if they lose to Pittsburgh, and their season's kind of not important after Pittsburgh. If you lose, it's not terribly important. You could still win, and people might be like, fuck you for saying that, but whatever, you're in the wild card probably. You're just playing in the wild card. You could end up as easily as the 6th seed if the Broncos or Chargers win out or something, and then you play Pittsburgh in Pittsburgh. So you'd have to play them a 3rd time. And, they always say it's tough to beat a team twice and it's harder to beat a team 3 times in 1 year. But
I love the tough to beat a team 3 times. That's one of my favorite tropes. I love it.
It sounds good. It's a good sentence sounding, it rolls off the tongue. I think that's about it.
Yeah, no, it's my favorite.
That's what we'll say. That'll be every episode if the Ravens lose to the Steelers.
9 of 10 or 10 of 11, whatever it'll be. Hey, listen, tough to beat a team 3 times.
That's the biggest part of my take.
Thing
possible, but yeah, man. I thought I liked what I saw from this team, and it just the question I have: can you be that decisive? The Steelers play a little different. They're a little more aggressive defensively. They penetrate. They have more talented players defensively at this point in time. We'll see. George Pickens was put as a DNP in a estimated practice report, and TJ Watt as well. Whatever. Bring them. I hate when people are like, oh, I hope we don't play them and then don't play, I hope they can play the Texans and then maybe play the Bills no, play the Steelers in the wild card round. Play the Bills in the division round and play the Chiefs in the AFC Championship. Fuck it. Do it the cool way, do it the hard way. Make everything, be a true champion, not some no Mickey Mouse shit. I don't want any Mickey Mouse shit. I want TJ Watt to play. I hope he does. I want George Pickens to play. I hope he does, because I want to see, can John Harbaugh and Lamar Jackson and this Ravens team be decisive? Marlon Humphrey's comment, Zay Flowers' comments, I believe, to Jeff Zrebeck, one of the big beat reporters, was, we need to make our kicks, take care of the football, and get in the end zone. And then Marlon Humphrey made the comments about Mike Tomlin saying, hey, it seems like they're just trying to keep it close. Like, they don't blow the Ravens out. They just want to keep it close, and they think we'll burn the house down. So he talked about those comments. It's time. If they lose, I'm just sick of this team. I'm just sick of this iteration of this team, frankly. And if it looks the same way in the playoffs, I think you have to change head coach. And I think you maybe need to look at your team building approach a little bit. I think you need to consider spending a bevy of picks on Micah Parsons or overpaying a shitload for a wide receiver, a 6'2" wide receiver that catches 110 balls a year. Like, I don't want to watch that again. So I'm sure that as much as I don't want to watch it, the Ravens don't want to go through it and 10 times more. So good week against the Giants. You're healthy. You just came off your bye. The Steelers just came off of, they're going to be on the road again on a short week, 1 day short, not like it's a Thursday, but they get the shit beat out of them by the Eagles. They couldn't do a damn thing to the Eagles. That game was a bludgeoning, beating them over the head. And now they have to come play the Ravens. So you really couldn't be in a better spot to play the Steelers with the division on the line. You couldn't have, like, you were dealt 20. You know, you were dealt 2 10s at the blackjack table.
Let's give him a 10 and an ace. Double down.
10 and an ace. You were, yeah, exactly. You were dealt it. You can't, you've got everything in your favor. So at this point, nothing else to say, man. Like, your offensive line needs to play physically. You need to be decisive. Lamar Jackson, John Harbaugh, and Todd Monken need to have a steady game plan and figure it out at this point. You got to scout them in advance, and they're tired and beat up and on the road. So I have no excuses for this team and this coaching staff in this game.
Neither do I. I mean, it's really, there's nothing left to say. And we'll say that, then we'll do a preview pod and get more into the schematics of it all and everything. But man, it just feels like deja vu all over again. Here you are having to play this team again, and it's a high leverage spot, and it's basically win or go home as far as the division is concerned. Like you said, you're at home. You drew a favorable matchup. You're coming off a big win. They're coming off a tough loss. I don't know what more you need. Let's not overcomplicate this. Let's not panic. Let's scheme up some easy throws. Let's not make it look like they have 13 players on the field on defense for some reason. Like,
one of them ripped the fucking ball out of your hands twice.
Right. Yeah. And like, again, that's decision making too. I mean, let's not, you're backed up in your own territory going to the half. Let's not try to throw a screen to the tight end who carries the ball like a loaf of bread. Let's not, just Derrick Henry, let's hang on to the ball this time. Let's not throw dumb interceptions like Lamar has done against his team in the past at times. Let's just, ball security, make your kicks, get in the end zone, like today said. I'm just tired of talking about losses and all that kind of crap with this team. And you're right. I mean, it's feels like kind of put up or shut up as far as this coaching staff being paired with this quarterback. And obviously Lamar's not going anywhere anytime soon. So it starts with this game and then obviously extends into the playoffs. Like, this is your season officially now. And I wish you could have set things up a little bit easier for yourself. I wish you didn't lose to the Raiders at home. I wish you didn't lose a dumb game to Jameis Winston, but you did. And you've made your bed, and now it's time to sleep in it and do with it what you can.
Well said. This game doesn't matter for playoff implicate. Like, it doesn't, there's no bye. You're going to have to play in the wild card round. So it doesn't matter in that sense, but I just don't know what it is. I just genuinely feel that if the Ravens win this game, they can win the Super Bowl. And if they don't, they can't. You have everything stacked in your favor. You're healthy. You're at home. Like I said, I don't need to go through all of that again, but can you adjust? Can you figure it out? Can you figure it out? And lo and behold, maybe Lamar, like, I went nuts after the Eagles game. Jared Goff can throw 5 picks and lose. Like, why can't the rest of your team figure shit out if Lamar Jackson doesn't play well? How have they not just fucking fallen into one victory?
Yeah, with all the talent they have too. I mean, and you built a team specifically for this instance where if he has a tough game, you got to be able to lean on this running game a little bit. You got to scheme up some easy throws. You got to play stronger defense. You have the best kicker of all time who evidently can't make kicks anymore. And that's part of it too. I mean, it's all part and parcel with that, but you're right. Like, they need to show that they can get this done without him having to put on the Superman cape. And they've done that at times throughout his career, but this is the exact type of game where if he's looking a little shaky early, his guys have got to pull him up by the bootstraps there. And
I would say there's probably 2 games this year where Lamar Jackson hasn't had a solid game. I would probably say against the Chiefs week 1, it was a little sloppy. That they come storming back at the end. And then I'd probably say against Pittsburgh, really, as I'm looking at the stats, looking at PFF, all that stuff, even the grades line up, the stats line up, all that stuff. So if Lamar doesn't even play, he played fantastic against them last year. You lose 17-10 because no one can catch the ball. Like, can Kyle Hamilton bait a throw or something? And can someone fucking score a defensive touchdown one time this year? Can somebody punch a ball out and take it to the house? Can you strip sack Russell Wilson and have OA pick the ball up and run? The Colt, think of the Colts game last year against Gardner Minshew. You punch the ball out, fucking dropping the ball on the ground. Whoever, I don't even remember who that was that couldn't pick it up. Who was that?
it was I think it might have been Clowney. Could be wrong.
Might have been Clowney. But
there were like 4 players that ran by it, so it wasn't just him.
Right. So can somebody on this defense take the ball away and score a fucking touchdown?
That's kind of where I'm at. Where have been the splash plays? I know Marlon got the pick in the end zone in the last matchup, but that was kind of, the game was, it would have been out of hand if they had scored a touchdown there. So that was kind of just a game saver. Set the tone early on defense. Just don't let, Russell Wilson and these jamokes just run over you. And, to be credited, I think they're a solid offense, but, you got to be able to make splash plays, in 2024 as a defense. The game is completely set up against you. That's really the only way you can make your impact felt. So let's get a sack from Matabike early. Let's rough Russell Wilson up a little bit. Let's get our hands on the ball. Let's just let's get our offense off on the right foot without them having to do everything. That's a way that I look at it against a team that has a great defense, probably the best in the league or one of them.
You just know, I think Marlon said it too. You know what they're going to do. They're going to run the ball. They're not going to run it that well. They might, have some 13-yard runs. They might be able to run it, 3rd and 3 and get a first down when they need to, stuff like that. They make their kicks. They're going to throw a couple moon balls, a screen here or there. And that's what they're happy to do. They're not going to trick you. They're not going to deceive you. They're going to play their way. And you have to get a lead, man. Why did they just squander against the Eagles so badly? Because the Eagles took a confident lead early. You have to make them play from behind and start to press and start to get out of play action and need to consistently move the ball quickly, get them into their 2-minute offense, those kinds of things. So I just can Kyle Hamilton, Ardarius Washington, Marlon Humphrey, one of these DBs go snag a ball, return it 55 yards to the 10 or house it. Somebody at some point, bait a throw. You know what's coming. I did it on the last preview for the Steelers. They ran the same shit on 3rd down. They kind of didn't quite do it in that Ravens game, but it's the same kind of stuff. Pushing the ball to the outside, down the field. They don't attack the middle. It's so simple. The Ravens again, people might be being like, well, they let up 18 points and it was all kicks. Yeah, but make a impact play. And Marlins did have the pick in the end zone, but I mean like a dagger. Someone make a fucking 99 overall play.
Do what that kid, that NC State kid did, picking the ball off.
Right.
Or dropped it into Justice Hill in the breadbasket, and he just somehow rips it away at the last second. Do something like that.
The Tony Jefferson from years ago and Vance McDonald.
Yeah.
A spectacular play. Someone needs to go above and beyond.
Corey Redding, just pick up a live ball that nobody knows is live and run it into the end zone.
And I'm just saying stupid fan shit at this point, but the Ravens haven't scored a defensive touchdown this year, man.
We can fucking pick this matchup apart. We can analyze these games to death. We can go through the numbers and the advanced metrics and all this, that, and the other, but it has not made sense when these two teams have gotten onto the field the last 10, 11 times. It just hasn't made sense. Even when the Ravens won that one time, in 2019, or I guess they swept them that year, but the one Lamar Jackson start where I think he threw 3 picks in that game, you wind up winning in overtime. Just win a weird game if you have to, or just go out there and win comfortably. That would be really nice for my blood pressure, but we know that's not going to happen.
Ravens 6.5-point favorites, hovering around 6.5, largest since 2020.
That really surprised me. Banks and I did surprise guess the lines on that one. I said by 2.5 Ravens. This Vegas must hate the Steelers, and I get it, but I don't know what they've been watching the last 10 times these teams have met.
They were terrible last week. They're on the road. They have 3 games in 11 days. Their second road game in the middle of that. So I think those things probably factor in.
It all makes sense. It all makes logical sense when you put it into the computer, and you run all your simulations and your scenarios. It's all very logical, But
I don't know, man.
this matchup defies logic.
I like where this Ravens team is at. I like their headspace. I like what I saw out of the bye week. I like the spot. I like the health. I don't have any excuses for this team at this point. And it's just a weird place to be. We'll get into it more. It's just a weird place to be. Like, again, it doesn't matter that much. You're in the playoffs. You're going to be playing in the wild card round. Home games are great. We've seen the Ravens lose home games in the playoffs. It's not, the Cowboys shit the bed in fucking AT&T Stadium like no other. So that's like cool. Vegas thinks it's worth 1.5 now, which is practically nothing. That's where I'm at. We'll get to it on Thursday.
Okay. Anything else for this episode?
It's just I don't know. I think either the Bills, Ravens, or Eagles win the Super Bowl. I'll put that out there. I do not think the Lions can win the Super Bowl. I like the Packers. I think they're too young. I don't think they have the stuff offensively to go on a run. Maybe they could win an NFC Championship. Who knows?
Love is volatile, and I really, pun intended, I love, but he's a volatile watch.
4 games of him being consistently good with that young offense would be surprising to me. And they do have a good run game.
I compared him to Jordan Spieth, like in the middle of his great run. It doesn't look right, it doesn't feel right, but somehow it keeps happening.
I like that.
Then, eventually it doesn't happen. You dump 3 in the water at Augusta.
This Eagles team is so good.
They're so impressive, and it's so funny. Like, people with the Sirianni stuff, they just won't get off that guy's case. And I get it. He doesn't do himself any favors. Everyone's still kind of, doubting Jalen Hurts. I don't really understand why that roster is so solid. Your boy Howie has really done a good job. They've got a program. The Eagles do. I think they'd be my favorite to win it all right now.
Certainly. So that's my prediction. Vikings, no. I would have that conversation about Sam Darnold turned up. I just think that the Eagles pass rush, if they can stay, again, health can change. They could lose Jalen Carter. Who knows? I'll knock on wood for him because I don't want that to happen to anyone. But their front can just dent you in. They did it to the Ravens. They did it to the Steelers. They just dent you in. And I love Jalen Hurts sitting down at the podium and saying, is that what y'all wanted? After he bombed on the Steelers' good defense and fucked them up. Had his best game of the year with the most criticism. Got A.J. Brown the ball, got Devontae Smith the ball. Goddard's hurt. Saquon didn't, have a massive game. And I will give the Steelers credit. The Saquon, his acceleration, once he is decisive, I've never seen it of any athlete, any runner of the football ever before. The way he can just lean into speed is wild. He was doing it to the Ravens. He had that one run at the end, and that wasn't even that one, but like him getting 6 yards when he has 6 yards of space, he just like, there's like what is that book? A Wrinkle in Time. Like the point is the shortest point between 2 points is a straight line unless you fold in the straight line. Like that is Saquon running, a wrinkle in time.
It's like some people speculate that's how light speed travel could work, bending the universe against itself.
That is how I feel when I watch him dig in and accelerate into a hole. It is nuts to watch that. Offensive line, defensive line, secondary, the weapons, the units. Jake Elliott sucks like Justin Tucker has. And Tucker makes all his extra points in this one.
Maybe Saquon runs for a long touchdown and then he gets back to the sideline and everyone's way older than him, like in Interstellar. They get back to the station. That guy's like, it's been 25 years. I've been waiting for you.
Mekhi Becton's just like laying in a hospital bed on the sideline.
He's the same age, like
cataracts, like super milky eyes.
Yeah, Saquon's just like banging on the bookcase.
Cooper DeJean is like 40 now because he's
Cooper DeJean is the Chalamet of that. Yeah, he's the young Chalamet.
I love where that headed. But yeah, Eagles couldn't be more bullish. I'm sure everyone else in the world is at this point. So no surprise there. But those are the 3 teams I think win the Super Bowl: Bills, Eagles, Ravens. One of those 3. I do not think it's the Chiefs' year. It doesn't add up.
I'm gonna go ahead and predict it's the Falcons with Michael Penix now at the helm. He's gonna go on a run.
Gets the Giants week 1 of his NFL starting career. He's gonna be good, man. He's gonna be really good.
That's a comfy spot. Yeah.
Yeah. And when you look at the Giants secondary on paper and like their pass defense, my Giants friends were saying this. It was so funny. I was like, oh, you guys have been, stingy. He's like, no, we can't score any points and teams can run the ball on us without Dexter Lawrence. So teams just don't throw the ball that much. They don't have to, and they're not scared of us scoring. And I was like, you made a very good factual statement there, my friend. That makes perfect sense.
Yeah. I saw Banks doing some good old classic Banks tweeting after a big game like that. Let's not sweep it under the rug. This Giants defense has this stat and the other stat. And it's like, well, yeah, Dexter Lawrence, missing a couple other guys. Let's not get too crazy here, Brian.
They're playing Tommy Pickles. Like, relax, bro.
Yeah, for half a game, and then it's Timmy Pickles, Tim Boyle coming in, and oh gosh, that's how you know your season is just absolutely has been whacked. You are out in the Meadowlands under an overpass somewhere in a muddy, shallow grave. And Tim Boyle snaps.
Tim Boyle really is the kiss of death. Whenever the Lions had him when they were terrible, he was starting on Thanksgiving on those hapless Lions teams.
I saw Jeff D. Lowe tweeted like he barely played in college or something, or he was just like terrible in college somehow, and now he's had like a 7-year NFL career somehow.
Yeah, he was on the Bears in 2022. They finished 3-14. He's truly the kiss of death. He was on the Jets in 2023. What did they finish? They're 7-10, not that bad, but Lions 2021, he started like 3 games. They were dreadful. I think they lost 10, 11, 12 straight with a tie in there.
That's just an
Something
innings
like
eater.
season.
An innings eater on a 40 and 50 team or something like that, just going nowhere. 30 and 50.
He truly is the Grim Reaper. When you see Tim Boyle, get out of there if you're a head coach. He's like freaking 2021 Orioles. It's like fucking Eshelman or Sulcer.
He's Murphy.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Or Matt Harvey, I should say.
The Batman.
Yeah.
The Dark Knight. All right. Well, I think that does it. We'll come back on Thursday. Get real fired up for that one. Saturday game should be a raucous crowd. Go to the game. Just go. It's the holidays. Go. If you're a Ravens fan, go. Don't let the Steelers travel down here and take over the stadium. Go to the game. Buy the ticket.
You getting choked up?
Do it. I'm having some burps, if that counts a little bit.
Just getting emotional over this.
Yeah, my emotional burp. So I think that's about it. We'll talk to you guys on Thursday.
Yep. Thank you all for listening. If you liked what you heard, please subscribe to us here on YouTube. Like and comment on all the videos. Did we have a winner for this past comment section? Are we sending anyone to the Steelers game?
I need to figure it out still. I have not seen anyone that predicted a correct score, so I don't know what to do. I didn't think of that being a possibility.
Just get the closest one.
I'll try.
Let's figure this out. Thank you all for participating in that. If you liked what you heard, you can find us on social media at Exit52 Podcast on Twitter. I am at Jake Louque. That's Louque. Spenny is at Ravens 4 Dummies. That is number 4 in the middle there. Ryan is at Barstool Banks. Taylor at Taylor Smythe 10. Eric at EDITTI 22. Thanks again, and we'll talk to you guys on Thursday night.
See you.
Arrivederci.
Really, really hard, and they execute the system, and that's what it's all about.
Yes, sir. Trust.
He's pretty
Big trust, baby.
Hey, yes, sir.
Right on cue. Hey, right on cue. Hey, let me.